You cannot say Phil flying, flying, Phil.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I ain't
No,
said no Phil
I ain't saying
Flar,
no Phil
Phil.
flying, flying. You know what you cannot say Fuck.
Hello and welcome to the Stream Team Podcast. I'm your host, Jamil Singleton, and joining me is...
Joe Holt.
This is your first time listening to the Stream Team. Here's a rundown of the schedule. We'll start with On the Queue, a brief recap of the media we've been consuming. Then we'll segue into our favorite news stories from this week. And finally, we'll roll into an in-depth review. This week's review, VHS. So Joe, what you been watching, sir?
Well, I'm going to get into what I liked and didn't like about VHS, but suffice it to say, when I was done watching the movie, I wanted to watch something else horror-ish, something else thriller-ish. So new on Netflix, is a movie called The Tall Man, which is not like the Marble Hornets Thin Man at all. Are you familiar with the Marble Hornets and Thin Man?
I'm not.
You have to check out. Just type in Marble Hornets into YouTube.
Uh-huh.
Make sure it's probably a bright, sunny day where you have nothing going on for probably 3 hours or so. And then start watching episode by episode. Some of them are 2 minutes, some of them are 5 minutes, but holy crap, awesome stuff. The Tall Man is not Marble Hornets. It's a mystery thriller marketed as a horror movie, directed by a man named Pasquale Lalliere, I think is how you pronounce his last name.
Okay.
And it stars Jessica Biel and a bunch of other people who aren't Jessica Biel.
Okay, yeah, I think I've seen the cover for this on Netflix.
Yeah, it's Jessica Biel and some tall dude standing behind her with you can't see his face. He's hidden. So I really want to get into this whole like 2-word descriptions for movies thing, or at least for the consuming portion of the rundown. Um, I'll Unexpectedly bad would be probably the 2 words I would use to describe this movie. It's marketed as a horror movie, like you think it's going to be about some creepy psycho killer snatching kids and killing kids or things like that. And I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but it's not that movie. If you're expecting,
Aw.
hey man, if you're expecting that movie, like I thought coming out of VHS, like I need to see something real, some real horror. And I was sadly disappointed with The Tall Man. It has some kind of strange social message to it, like fix the world kind of social message, and not at all a horror movie. So if you're thinking you're going into it watching I mean, it's kind of a thriller, I guess, a little bit of a mystery. But in the end, you just kind of wonder, like, okay, I don't really care. So to get the taste of that movie out of my mouth, I also watched a 2007 British comedy called Magicians, which I had never heard of before Netflix said, you might like this movie. Have you heard of it before?
No,
Okay, yeah, me either.
doesn't even
It's
sound vaguely familiar.
no. And if you saw the cover, you'd be like, what? It comes up as a comedy in Netflix. It's directed by a guy named Andrew O'Connor, and it stars two famous British comedians, two guys named David Mitchell and Robert Webb. I've also seen a few of their other things on Netflix. I haven't watched them, but I've seen them on there. That Mitchell and Webb look, I think, is one. And as soon as I saw the faces of the guys, immediately I realized, oh, I know these guys. I haven't really seen anything with them in it. It's a total British comedy in the sense that there's one entire scene between two of the characters, this magician and his assistant, where she's basically trying to get him psyched up. He's this kind of prim and proper guy. David Mitchell's character is this, or sorry, Robert Webb's character is kind of prim and proper guy, and she's trying to get him excited, and she's trying to tell him we're going to go out there and we're going to F these people in the A. That's how she's going to get him pumped up. She's kind of vulgar, this woman, and so she says, "We're going to F them in the A." Like, the really says the words, and
Oh, okay.
he
I was
and
confused for a second.
yeah,
That's,
yeah.
that's not very vulgar.
She full on says it. I'm trying to clean it up a little bit. She full on says it, and he gets the shock look on his face, and she just keeps telling him, "Say it. Say we're going to F them in the A," and he gets this. We're going to F them in the A, and he says it as well. And you see him kind of looks a little bit more free, but also very uncomfortable. It's that kind of humor that it appears throughout the movie. It's uncomfortable a lot of the time. It's irreverent in the sense of, you come into a joke and a guy is talking about his I can't even go into it. Essentially, the level of sperm that he still has in his system after he masturbates several times a day. Like, you just come
Nice.
into the scene and he's just saying, first time, lots of jizz. Second time, a little bit more, a little bit less jizz. Third time that day, barely any jizz at all. And there's a woman just staring at him like, what? And then he looks over, oh, hey, how are you doing? Like, just starts talking. That's how you come into the scene. It's that kind of a movie where you're just thrown by the humor every probably 15 minutes, every 10 minutes or so. Kind of comes out of left field. But I really enjoyed it. It wasn't one of the best comedies I've seen in a while, but it was definitely took my mind off of The Tall Man and several of the other things I've been watching this week. It was a nice break from horror and even just American comedy, because the British do things completely different. So The Tall Man and Magicians. If you're on Netflix, skip The Tall Man and give Magicians a chance if you have a little bit of a stomach for foul language and potty humor. It's worth it.
Well, I do like the potty humor, so
You
sounds right up my
you should
alley.
check it out, man. Seriously, there's some moments where you're just like, oh my gosh, please stop talking, and they just keep going. So give it a shot. You'll like it.
Awesome. What else you been watching?
That's it. I'm gonna try to keep this short tonight. Those two movies were good. What have you been watching, my friend?
Well, the question is not so much what I've been watching and more so what I've been playing.
Oh, what have you been consuming, I should say?
Yeah, so I've been playing Tomb Raider, and I shouldn't even say been playing because I'm done. I solved that game tape. It's done. It's wrapped up. I finished
How
it.
long did that take?
I think the last time I looked, the tally was at 15 hours.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I just blasted right through that game. I rented it from Redbox, and started it Friday morning, finished it late Sunday evening. So, and I held on to it for 3 days. So I got to beat a $60 game for $6, which can't complain about that.
That's
Absolutely, yeah,
awesome.
it was
Golf
great.
clap, golf clap.
But yeah, it's a really fantastic game. The basics of it is, it's a Tomb Raider game. It's based on the popular character Lara Croft, which I think most people know of by now, if not by the video games, then by Angelina Jolie's portrayal in the two movies that she did. And this movie, or this game rather, it's starting from the beginning. It's a reboot, and so we go back to when Lara was 23 years old. She's just out of college, and she's going on her first adventure, and things go horribly, horribly wrong. Her and
Wouldn't be a Tomb Raider game if it didn't, right?
yeah, her and her shipmates who were out looking for treasure get shipwrecked on this strange island that has a lot of weird supernatural things going on, and she's put in this position where she has to fight for her survival, not only against the island, nature, and the elements, but against these crazed tribesmen that are living on the island who have some ulterior plan for her and her shipmates. So,
Is there a golden retriever or a Labrador? Sorry, a Labrador on the island, and a small boy yelling, "Vincent!"
sadly, no, but
Oh,
that's the only similarity with Lost that this game doesn't have. In fact, the island seems hell bent on keeping anyone from leaving using any sort of vehicle, or anyone from arriving on the island safely using any sort of vehicle. Throughout the game, there's a couple points where they call for help, and they manage to get the Coast Guard or someone else to pick up and try to fly out to help them, and their planes just kind of drop to the ground like a rock.
oh man.
Yeah, so there's some mystical force on the island keeping electronics and gas-powered vehicles from approaching and leaving the island, which is kind of eerie and kind of cool. And just playing through the game to figure out that mystery was kind of cool in its own right, along with a few puzzles, lots of shooting dudes in the face. Yeah, it's
literally shooting them
in the face. It's the fastest way. It's the fastest way to get in result. Yeah. But yeah, it was a great game. I really enjoyed it, and I'd recommend anybody out there who's got a PC, PlayStation 3, or Xbox 360 to pick up Tomb Raider. Check it out.
Has that consumed your entire week then? The 15 hours on the game?
Pretty much. I mean, aside from that, I haven't had too much time to watch anything else aside from a little How I Met Your Mother, and might have caught an episode of Psych in there somewhere.
Oh, nice. Is it back on now?
I'm still watching on Netflix, so I'm behind.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm all cut up. The latest season is by far one of the best in the last few years. It's hilarious.
That's good to hear, because I think I'm just getting past the season that was pretty slow.
Yeah, it was getting a little rough there for a little while, but thankfully it's improved. It's improved.
Yeah, definitely. All right, sir. So, news. Got anything in the queue there?
Yes. So, first of all, to start off, the Iron Man 2 trailer. Have you seen it? The newest Iron Man 2 trailer? Yeah, Iron Man 3 trailer 3. Sorry, that's what I'm trying to say. Apparently that just becomes Iron Man 2. Yes. The Iron Man 2 trailer from like 2 years ago. Have you seen it? It's fantastic.
Really? I heard that movie. I heard that movie might not be so great.
I'm a moron. The third Iron Man 3 trailer is what apparently I'm trying to say. Have you seen it?
I have, sir. It's you know, it's funny. It's a trailer I wish I hadn't seen.
What? Why?
Because it's pretty damn amazing, and I think
that's why I'm bringing it up, dude.
Well, yeah, but it's one of those things where like you see it and then you wish you could see all of that stuff happen for the first time in the theater, with no knowledge of it. It's one of those things where like, oh man, talk about spoilers. I imagine none of that stuff is none of that stuff is going to be the really
it's not pivotal
spectacle. Yeah, the movie's probably going to have more spectacle than what's shown in that trailer, but God, there's a lot of spectacle in that trailer.
Come on, man. When Rhodey turns to him and says like, "Where's the cavalry?" or "Here's my boys," like, oh,
yeah, yeah.
Another trailer, another number 2 this time, not a third of third. Kick-Ass 2, the Red Band trailer. Did you get to see this?
This I did see as well. Pretty awesome.
Holy crap. Again, talk awesome. About like, damn it. Like, in my thoughts for Iron Man 3 was, I can't wait for this thing to get here fast enough. My thoughts for Kick-Ass 2 were, I really hope this movie delivers what the trailer is showing me, because if it does, I'm going to love it.
Yeah, indeed. I know there's a comic book for it out. I haven't read that yet, or it's going to be out soon. I'm curious how well it ties in, because the first book and the movie were being produced simultaneously, and there's a real close connection between the two. So, and I'm pretty sure that the same sort of thing happened with Kick-Ass 2.
Sure.
With the comic informing the movie and the movie informing the comic. But yeah, this trailer is pretty awesome. It's
to quote Gwen Stefani, it's bananas. That's all I can.
Bananas.
Jim Carrey as Colonel Stars and Stripes. Christopher Mintz-Plasse as the MFer. I can't even say his name on the air.
Sure you
Chloe
can. Go
Grace Moretz back as Hit Girl. Like, so many things. Her dirty, ridiculous mouth cracks me up every time.
Yeah.
She's like the 15-year-old Dirty Harry or something. It cracks me up.
Precisely, Dirty Harry with the little bit of ninja thrown in.
Yeah, Dirty Harry with a little bit of like Bruce Lee or something.
Yeah. I'm Jim Carrey. When I heard he was in this movie and I started seeing early photos from the movie and kind of on-set shots, I was a little bit worried, because some of the stuff he's done most recently hasn't been all that great. I think the things that make Jim Carrey really awesome are, it seems like it's a little bit harder for him to do these days. A little bit harder for him to pull off that physical comedy and that kind of weird Jim Carrey thing that he does. But man, when I saw him in this trailer, I was just like, wow.
Do you know what it reminded me of? For the first time in a long while, it reminded me of Yeah, kind of like Johnny Depp when Johnny Depp does a character from Pirates of the Caribbean when he's playing Captain Jack Sparrow. Like I don't see Johnny Depp, I see Captain Jack Sparrow. The
Absolutely.
majority of Jim Carrey movies I've seen lately, whatever it is, comedy, drama, I see Jim Carrey. Um, there are definitely exceptions, but I feel like he's playing the same character, and I felt like with this Kick-Ass 2 trailer, it reminded me of like a Jack Sparrow type character where I would forget 15 minutes in that I'm watching Jim Carrey. Like it was that good of a performance
Right.
that I believe the accent, the deep voice, like all of that, I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, and there's even a little bit of makeup in there, and it kind of made his chin a little sharper and a little
Like
bit
grizzled,
broader.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
He's got some creepy scar running down his face.
yeah, yeah. He looks awesome. I hope he doesn't steal the whole movie all by himself. Considering it's
I
supposed to
don't know.
be,
If the movie
about
is good, I could care less. I could care
right.
less.
It's just
So I have one more bit I want to talk about, but I want to also hear what news you've been following this week.
okay. Well, I've only got one news item this week, and it's rather exciting one for me, and that's the Veronica Mars movie Kickstarter that
Mm.
started up yesterday. Um,
Started and ended yesterday.
Pretty much. I mean, it's still going to go for like another 20 days, so we'll see how much more money they raise. But basically, um, Rob Thomas and Kristen Bell, the people behind Veronica Mars, have decided, they try to let the fans fund a Veronica Mars movie. And they took the Kickstarter and asked the fans to donate funds to the sum of $2 million. And they managed to reach that lofty goal in just about 5 hours or so, 6 hours, and then managed to just keep on trucking. I haven't looked at it recently. Let's see where it's at right now.
$3.2 million raised in a day and a half with 28 days still left in it.
Yeah, and what I think really, really seals that Kickstarter is
Oh
not
man,
only
I'm even looking at the breakdown of how much people are pledging. Um, I'm scrolling all the way down to see who's pledging the most amount of money. Pledge of $10,000 or more, one backer. Pledge of $8,000 or more, three backers. $6,500, three backers. $5,000, four backers. I mean, this shows you exactly how they got to $3.2 million in a day.
right.
People are not just giving out $5 here and $5 there.
Well, it comes from a really great show. For those who don't know, Veronica Mars is a TV show that was on somewhere around, what, 5 years ago or so?
I think it ended 6 years ago.
Yeah. So Veronica Mars was about a girl goes to high school and has a traumatic event happen in her life, and her father's sheriff in this small town. Uh, what happened to her and some things that happened with her father and mother cause all this controversy in town, and she finds herself sort of walking around wearing the scarlet letter, basically. And eventually, she decides to become a fighter, and she morphs into this detective, and she kind of runs around town solving little mysteries for people and helping them out. And it's basically a really great show. It's a really great high school show. It went
Well, hold
on.
on. You say really great high school show. It's a really great show, happens to be set in high school.
Okay, I'll give you that.
There's just because I mean, there are so many high school elements, but I know at one point they were talking about taking her, it was like 3 years after the show had ended, and they were talking about doing like a big time jump where she's now in the FBI.
Right.
And
That's
it's,
actually how season three ends. The very
yeah,
last episode kind of jumps into that. And I think that was their way of trying to introduce you to the cast of what would have been the next season if the show had gotten picked up. Um, I
what
wasn't.
I was going to say is you could easily take the formula of the show, the characters of the show, the dynamic of the show, put it into an adult office FBI environment, or even just FBI cases, and it would still be a fantastic show. I don't think it would lose anything coming from out of high school into the real world, so to speak, or the adult world. I feel like it would still not lose any steam.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And funny enough, the kind of future that you were talking about, where she would leave and become a FBI agent. That, funny enough, wasn't something that excited me too much. I felt
At the
like
time?
I felt like the final season of the show, when she was in college, things kind of slowed down, and I feel like they sort of lost their groove a little bit, and I think that just happened. That had to do with the fact that they had left Neptune, the city in which the show was taking place originally, and gone off to college. And in this new setting, I don't think that the ass kicking super little detective that Kristen Bell played as Veronica Mars, I don't think it worked as well. It was still pretty cool. She was still really cool, but it wasn't as awesome as it was when she was still in high school and dealing
Sure.
with kind of small fries around town. That said, the movie they're proposing, based on what they've said on the Kickstarter page, is about her returning back to Neptune again and dealing with some things in that town. So I think that part of it is really exciting to me, to go all the way back to the beginning and bring back the characters from the town where it all started and try to rekindle whatever magic that show had, because it really was magical when it was on. It's a really great show.
Yeah, my wife and I missed it when it was on. We caught it probably 2, 3 years after it ended, and we did the Netflix thing where we just watched it all in like maybe 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, something like that. It didn't last very long. The 4 or 5 seasons, or 4 seasons, or three seasons it
Three
had.
seasons, yeah.
3 seasons. It felt like more. Yeah, we tore through that, and it was good, man. It was really good.
Yeah, like I said, it's a great show. The thing that really, I think, seals that Kickstarter too, as well as the really funny video that they put up, starring Kristen Bell and several members of the cast from Veronica Mars,
I
and
can't
just,
believe I haven't seen it.
yeah, it's this really funny sketch, based on the characters from the show basically just showing up at Kristen Bell's house and talking to her like she's Veronica Mars, and
Nice.
them all just kind of falling back into their characters. It's so funny and so well done. And I think if you're going to try to sell a Veronica Mars movie, what better way than to do it than to show people all the characters that they love from the show once again? So yeah, it's everything about that Kickstarter was done right, and I think they deserve all the success they've received thus far and then some.
Nice. Also, Rob Thomas is not the same Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20, if that confused anyone like it did me. It's part of the reason I avoided the series for probably the first year after it ended. I was like, why do I want to watch a movie or a series by the guy who is in Matchbox 20? That's awkward. Um, so, other good news to build on as well. Zachary Levi,
Hmm.
the guy who played Chuck in the TV show Chuck, has also talked about wanting everyone to get together to do a Kickstarter for another either a Chuck movie or a Chuck series,
That would be
which
interesting. I'd
I
love to
would be
see
behind.
what kind of turnout that gets.
Sure.
I actually never really watched Chuck. I watched most of the first season, and that was it.
Dude,
And
I was the same. I literally watched the first season. I think I watched, no, I didn't even get to the end of the first season. I think I watched the first half of the season finale and stopped because I was like, this isn't going anywhere. This is kind of lame. I'm not enjoying it. And I missed the best part. And the great thing about Chuck was that every season, something it introduced an entirely different element that made it almost a completely different show. Same characters, but it just kept rewriting the rules of itself, which I thought was hilarious. Very fun, very interesting. It kept it fresh every single season.
yeah, what's funny? I just happened. I didn't have any reason for not watching it or stopping watching it. It was more so just that was around the time I cut the cord, and I just didn't really have TV aside from over the air stuff. And I very quickly, after I cut the cord, got out of the habit of sitting in front of my TV at a designated time. And even TiVo, it just got to the point where it even recording things started to feel like too much of an effort. It was If it wasn't on Netflix, then I probably wasn't going to watch it. So it's one of those shows. It's still not on, I think it's still not on Netflix or anything.
Yeah, I don't
So
think so.
yeah, if it ever comes to Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that, I'm sure I'll get around to watching it. But it's nothing about it makes me feel like I just have to go out and do everything I can to try to get a hold of it and watch it at this point. But here, it's a great show. I did like what I watched of it.
Yeah, if you get a chance, I'd say check it out. The one thing I realized we didn't cover last week was the announcement that Christopher Nolan is going to be heading up apparently DC Comics movies for the foreseeable future, including a potential Justice League movie starring Christian Bale as the Dark Knight.
Right. I did hear about this news item. I didn't really
So
look into it though, so fill me in.
I don't know if I want to fill you in. It's just all speculation at this point. Christopher Nolan has been brought on to pull a Joss Whedon. So Joss Whedon, director of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, Cabin in the Woods, a lot of really fantastic stuff.
The upcoming Much Ado About Nothing.
I think I saw the trailer for it last week as well. Very good. With a returning cast of like all of his former players.
Right.
So they brought him on. Joss has written comic books before. He knows comic books backwards and forwards. He's got a great tone. They brought him on to do the Avengers. The Avengers did so well, they allowed him to basically run the entire Marvel movie universe. So now he's the guy who everybody's coming to for Captain America, for Guardians of the Galaxy, and it just keeps going on and on and on. He's there to do their Initiative 2, or whatever it's called, the next phase 2. I think DC realized, holy crap, like we're totally missing out here. You know, in I Am Legend with Will Smith, what was that, 4 years ago now, 5 years ago now? They teased a Superman Batman movie on a billboard in the background of one of the scenes. And everybody was going, you know, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Superman Batman. Well, 5 years later, we're no closer to a Superman Batman movie than we are a Justice League movie, which has supposedly been coming out for 12 years. So DC is trying to do the Joss Whedon thing. Well, we've got this guy who made some really popular movies, so we're going to go ahead and put him in charge of everything. And you know what's even better? Why don't we just speculation? Why don't we just put Christian Bale in there too? Because they love working together, and then we'll get all the people who went to go see Batman.
Christopher Nolan has what it takes to make this happen. I'm not sure he's going to give DC the Avengers movie that they want. I think he may be able to deliver them
Don't say he's going to give them the Avengers movie they need.
Well, honestly, I think what he gives them might lean a little bit closer to Watchmen than Avengers. Sure. I think you'd see
Zack Snyder is there to help, right?
Right. And I think you might see a little bit more of a darker, more brooding Justice League movie versus, you know, the Avengers, which was really bright and really full of adventure and fun. I think that this will be a more serious, more realistic take on the Justice League.
And I know you and I have clashed over The Dark Knight Rises.
There's no clash in Dark Knight Rises. I know it's not a good movie. I just like it for whatever reason. It's one of those things I just have to say, you know, it's a bad movie I like.
Dark Knight, then.
Yeah.
I can't stand The Dark Knight Rises. I tolerate The Dark Knight. As good as Heath Ledger was, that movie was just crap. Everybody says it's the perfect superhero movie. Kiss my ass. Watch The Avengers. If he could do a movie like the original Batman Begins, where it's darker, you know, there's death and there's that kind of thing, but at the same time, like, it's full of hope. You know, the end of that movie where he teases with Katie Holmes's character, you know, like you think she figures out what's happening. He's talking about rebuilding things. Like it ends on a hopeful note. And I think Dark Knight Rises tried to do that. Dark Knight didn't even try. Dark Knight Rises tries to do that, and in my opinion fails. Like the whole movie is just set up for failure. And that's the taste that I have in my mouth, is that Christopher Nolan screwed up a really good thing that he had, almost like The Matrix and the Wachowski siblings. The Wachowskis, with The Matrix being amazing, and then 2 and 3 people were like, oh, what?
Yeah.
I'm afraid of Nolan doing something like that, of trying to capitalize on the things that he thinks people want to see the most, darker, gritty, those kind of things, and getting away from who the characters are, what the characters do. Now, The Avengers is not a perfect movie. Poor Hawkeye doesn't really do anything the entire movie.
Right.
But at the same time, it's a fantastic film and not just a comic book film. I think I've watched it probably half a dozen times. I've still only seen The Dark Knight Rises once, and even then, I was like doing other things while it was on the screen. Like that's how bored I was while watching it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you probably won't hear me talking about this subject again unless something huge happens until we see a trailer or they start casting for it or whatnot. But I love DC. I prefer DC superheroes over Marvel superheroes. I think that's pretty well known.
Right.
But Marvel's doing it right, man. Marvel's just kicking the crap out of DC, and until DC gets their head out of their butt, like I don't think they're gonna even come close to Marvel.
It's you know what's funny? It's really bizarre that when it comes to feature length live action films, DC is just getting trounced by Marvel. Meanwhile, if you look at the animated films from both houses, DC is just killing Marvel. Every movie DC puts out is just phenomenal.
That's true.
And they just keep getting better and better. So
Gaining more critical acclaim and things like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so bizarre that they can put together these just fantastic films, animated films, but they can't seem to get anything live action together to save their lives. And I don't know if it's because there's different people in the studio in charge of different things, and maybe that's how it's happening, or if maybe they're just so scared to put out a live action film and they're so worried that they're going to mess it up and then dash their chance at doing a Justice League that they're not doing anything or not making any right choices.
Sitting stagnant.
Yeah, exactly. But really quick, back to the Chris Nolan thing. The one bright spot in that deal is Zack Snyder, because from what I've heard about Superman, what is it called? Man of Steel, actually. What I've heard of Man of Steel is that even though the trailer portrays this kind of darker, brooding Superman, apparently that's not what the movie is like. That the movie has a completely different tone than that.
Oh, geez, I hope
that's
so.
just the way they cut the trailer together. So
I hope so. I don't need a dark Superman as well. We've got that in The Dark Knight.
Right. So, and Zack Snyder deals in bright colors. I think he can work in the dark, as we've seen with Watchmen, but he deals with really bright and really saturated colors. So I think that Superman might be right up his alley with the big primary colors and everything like that. So I'm expecting that movie to be good. And even if it's not amazing, the one thing it can give me that I've always wanted is a Superman movie where Superman's fighting supervillains. And really,
not
really,
Lex Luthor.
Yeah, well, I mean, really, really fighting them. I mean, we had in Superman 2, you had Zod and his groupies, but they never really got into one of those fights where, Superman gets punched into the building and the building falls over. That kind of really knockdown, drag out, superhuman fighting. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of that, and hopefully Zack Snyder can deliver.
Yeah, I would love to see a Justice League movie that's reminiscent of The New Frontier, the comic book by. What happened to you? Where'd you go? Suddenly you took an elevator down. For those of you listening at home, Jamel and I are also Skyping so we can see each other. And all of a sudden I looked up and all I could see was the top of his head. The comic book by Darwin Cook. Have you read The New Frontier?
I have not.
It has a definite 50s kind of feel to it, where it's lighter, it's happier, it's wholesome, I guess would be the best word to say it. And I would love to see a Justice League movie reminiscent of that. I think that's the direction they should be going in, instead of darker and grittier. I could use a little hope in this world.
Another good one would have been All-Star Superman.
Oh yeah.
It's another really hopeful, really amazing movie. And it's funny because it's one of those movies that they could have done that and completely skipped doing any kind of origin story or anything like that. It's a story that stands on its own and stands pretty well. So I don't know. They have a lot of options for what they could have done. I guess they're doing another origin. They're starting over. So be it. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, let's move off this subject.
On to the main event.
Okay, here's the deal. We gotta break into this house, and all we have to do is steal this one VHS tape. Which one is it?
I don't know, man. Let's just look at these tapes.
What's so special about this tape anyway?
You're all gonna die up here.
So, this week for the main event, we have VHS. This film is directed by a whole lot of people. Adam Wingard, David Bruckner, Ty West, Glenn McQuaid, Joe Swanberg, and Radio Silence, which is a group of directors. And this group is composed of Matt Bettini-Olpin, Tyler Gillette, Chad Viella, and Justin Martinez, which is pretty crazy. I mean, there's a lot of people involved in this movie. And in fact, the writing staff is almost all Radio Silence, with a little bit of help from Ty West, Glenn McQuaid, and David Bruckner. But yeah, VHS. It's a horror anthology presented in the found footage format. The basics of the story is a group of morally bankrupt small-time thugs break into a house in search of one particular VHS tape, and what they find is a dead man and a disturbing series of VHS tapes containing horrible events that defy explanation.
So, I wanted to like this movie. I had been hearing on Ain't It Cool News for a year now that it was good, that people liked it, that some of it was weak, but a lot of it was really good. And while the way they framed it, this anthology of short horror films, was pretty cool, that you start off with these guys you just don't like at all going in to steal this tape for reasons we don't fully understand.
Horrible asshats.
We'll get into that a little bit more in the spoilers version. But yeah, just guys that you do not want to be friends with. You know, there are some people that you're like, I could have a beer with that guy. These guys you want to smash over the head with your beer. Like, there's nothing redeeming about any of them. And I think it's supposed to be that way. So you're kind of following them as they go to steal this tape. While they're in this location to steal the tape, they find other tapes, and they don't know which one they're supposed to be taking. So they leave behind a person, basically, to start watching the tapes, kind of one by one, to see what's on them, to find out which one they're supposed to take. It's kind of a needle in the haystack with a million needles. One of the things I enjoyed after I finished the movie, because I didn't enjoy much during the movie, was I learned more about the sequel to this movie, SVHS, or at the time I think they thought it was VHS 2, but it's SVHS. And I guess they tried to do the same thing with another group of people who discover like a set of tapes in a house or an office or something to that effect. But what I liked about it was that they talked about this larger kind of not conspiracy, but this larger group, cult, if you want to say, that is watching these movies, collecting these movies, and, you know, bringing them together or whatnot. And these idiots just keep stumbling upon the places where they keep the videos. But the idea that there's this extra kind of meta plot floating out there that there are these whatever dastardly, wicked, evil people who are maybe making these tapes or collecting them, or that it shows a more disturbing picture of what's happening in the world, because very few of these things are, you know, like a dude killing another dude. It's almost all supernatural and or kind of world-shattering events that if any one of them really appeared on the evening news, we'd all lose our brains, just freak out, you know, actual proof of ghosts or specters or, you know, any number of things, aliens. But I like the idea that there's this group of people who are collecting these things for whatever purposes, and that they might be predicting the end of the world. That's about all that I like of the framing narrative that they use here, as far as the bookends. This is how we're going to tell the stories. We're going to have these guys go into this house and steal these tapes. That's pretty much the only thing I liked about the first bit and the last bit that you see of the movie.
Okay. And I guess what we've decided is we're not going to go into any one of the individual stories before we get into spoilers. So we'll talk a little bit more about what surrounds the circumstances in which they end up in the house.
Maybe give overall impressions too.
Yeah, so the movie starts out with these guys performing a variety of horrible acts, including a sexual assault. One guy attempts to very slyly hide a camera and create a porno with his girlfriend. There's during the credits, the guys are just destroying an abandoned house with baseball bats and crowbars and whatever else.
During the end credits, they're destroying an abandoned car as well. They just seem like a bunch of douchebags.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that is really the only word for them, aside from maybe assholes. But yeah, I mean, they're horrible. They're horrible guys. The scenes with the girlfriend, where the guy's trying to get the girlfriend to film a porno without her knowing. In those scenes, they're actually intercut with some of the other scenes because it seems one of the guys is taping over the tape where he tried to do this before she catches him and makes him turn off the camera and she leaves. But yeah, so the guys are doing these things and apparently they're selling the videos and getting paid for it, which in a little bit of really terrible plot device writing, they explain that they get paid $50 each for these videos, and they've done it like 30 or 40 times already. And one of the guys says, "Hey, I've got a way for us to make more money. Some guy wants this VHS tape. If we go get it, we'll get way more money than we've been getting from this little small time stuff." So this is what brings them to the house where they find the dead man and a gazillion TV monitors with VHS players. And
yeah, there's just a dead dude sitting in a chair in front of these TV monitors, and they start popping in tapes.
Right, while they're searching for the correct tape. And they coincidentally while they're really horrible people, they're also very, very, very unintelligent, because they go into this house with no idea of exactly what they're looking for. They just know they need a VHS
literally looking for, it's like going into a room of files and saying, "I'm looking for a file, but I'm not sure which one."
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll just know it when I see it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess there's not much more to say about that part of it. So we can get into overall impressions, and then we'll jump into spoilers after that.
Yeah. So regarding this tape 56, this frame narrative directed by Adam Wingard. We said already several times that these guys are just asshats, just douchebags. Like, you do not like them at all. And I don't know how I feel about that. On one hand, I'm okay with it because, as the film progresses, what happens to them, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's fine. Like, I hope they land in jail. I hope something bad happens to them, things like that.
Right.
And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about the main people of the movie that we're supposed to be following. I literally want them to be punished. You know what I mean? Like, I would find it more interesting if they were like younger and just kind of stupid kids. They don't know better, or this is the age of the internet and that's how they grew up, that they're doing these kind of nasty things and recording it just because they don't have a conscience. But the idea that you never see that, you never see remorse, you never see them doing anything kind of redeeming to give you any kind of feeling for them. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was pointless. It's like, you might as well just show baby killers. Like, literally, like, if they just opened up and they were like throwing kids out windows, that's the same effect. It would be probably, it'd be more, you'd hate them more. But at this point, you really just don't like them. So when bad things start happening to them, you're like, yeah, it's fine. That's okay. Oh, yeah, that's cool. And meanwhile, I feel like the rest of the shorts, even when they were dealing with bad people or not so good people, you still at least felt some kind of connection to them. So from a framing narrative, I guess, or frame narrative, I felt like it didn't do well to tie. It did okay to tie everything together, but I also didn't give a crap about them tying everything together because I didn't care about any of the characters.
Okay, yeah. Let's see. I overall actually really enjoy this film. I'll get into spoilers. In spoilers, I'll get into some of the details of why. But I think that there are some reasons for some of these things, and I think that in general, one of the long held tropes of horror films is that the people who are getting killed in these films are typically horrible people.
They
They're
deserve it.
they're people you don't want to hang out with. I mean, if you go back to any of the Friday the 13th movies, all of those teens in the summer camp are just the most terrible, vapid people you've ever seen before.
And look at Cabin in the Woods. I mean, the whole movie is about, the jock who's just too cool, the slut chick, they're all drinking, they're all doing drugs. Like you expect them to get, it's just like you said, the 80s movies, like you expect them to get killed by a slasher.
Right. They turn them into the stereotype so they can then be killed. So yeah, I think some of that has to do with it, and some of it's just an appreciation for them, um, looking to the classics for some inspiration and how they handle those things, and I think updating it a little bit and making the characters horrible in a different way. And they're not just horrible douchebags, but they're also kind of sad. I think that it's sad to think that these guys' lives. They live in this crappy little house, and you get brief glimpses of what their life is like outside of all of this, and they not only look like horrible people, but they look like people who just live in trash and don't have much of a life outside of the time they spend together as friends or quote unquote friends. And it also seems like any one of these quote unquote friends would stab each other in the back the first chance they get. So I don't know, it's ugly, it's disturbing, but I think that it's also affecting, and I think that that was intentional. That the movie would affect you the way it did.
Sure.
So anyway, like I said before we get into spoilers, I did like it. I thought it was an interesting movie. I thought that there are some really great takes on classic horror tropes throughout the movie with some of the different vignettes. And I think that while some of them are weak, and I think that the whole thing is missing some cohesion, tying the vignettes together, overall, I think that if you really like horror movies, I think there's something here. There's something here to take from it that you'll enjoy, and I think that you'll find new ideas and new ways of approaching the subject matter and the genre. So,
I can see that. Two last points before we get into spoilers. This movie is not afraid of nudity, not afraid of kind of in your face, as Jamel was saying. Like it presents the people that we're seeing, mostly teenagers, in a you see what happens when you do bad, kids. See what happens when you fornicate and do drugs. So there were several times in the movie where I felt like adolescent to late teenage to early 20s men made these clips, because each one of them treated women like they were just set dressing. You know what I mean? Like, show me your boobs and pull up her shirt. Like there was a lot of TNA in this movie, and I felt like while some of it in a horror movie is okay or deserved, again, setting up the who's going to die kind of moments, this just seemed like they knew that their audience were, late teen, early 20 guys, and they were like, we're going to get the TNA and we're going to work in boobies. So I felt a lot of it was gratuitous. I don't mind nudity when it's done well or when it has a purpose, but I felt like a lot of this, like you mentioned, the sex tape the guy is trying to make, and they're taping over it with these, destroying houses and assaulting women and things like that. Like even that, like you're watching a moment in the film and all of a sudden it cuts back to this dude naked on top of this girl and he's trying to get her to go or whatever, and he's trying to get her to get it on, and I was like, what? Come, like I get it, okay, he wants to have sex, I understand, like let's move on. The last thing I want to say before we get into spoilers, if you're like me and you want good horror with or at least something of a good kind of seat of your pants kind of horror, and you want character development, just skip everything until the last like 20 minutes of the movie. There's a story called 10/31/98. It's Halloween, October 31st, 1998, directed by Radio Silence, written and directed by Radio Silence. It is the best of the vignettes, the best of these little short horror films. I actually cared about the characters. I thought they were funny. I thought they were interesting. The plot was good. The pacing was good. If nothing else, if you're thinking of skipping this, or if you're reading reviews and you think it's a pass, at least check out the last 20 25 minutes or so of this movie, 10/31/98. I thought it was the best by far of all of them.
Awesome. All right. So let's get into spoilers.
Bring on the spoilers. Boobies, boobies, boobies.
Mr. Darcy is a nice bloke. They get together in the end. Rosebud is a sled, and Harvey the rabbit's not pretend. Bruce is a ghost in the sixth sense. The family in the others are too. That's your wife's head in a box, Brad. So wish John Doe adieu. What's in the box? What's in the box? Dumbledore dies, Trinity dies, Norman Bates is his mother, he's in a disguise. Snoop dies, Omar dies, and no one really understands Mulholland Drive. It's true, it's true. We're gonna spoil it for you. It's true, yeah, it's true. We're gonna spoil it for you.
Boobies, boobies, boobies. I'm gonna do it again. Bring on the spoilers. I was shocked by the amount of nudity in this movie. I mean, I get it. It's a horror movie and it's made for these teens or whatever. But damn, there were a lot of tits running around. Like I could not sit on the couch with my wife wouldn't watch it because it's a horror movie. But even still, I would just feel uncomfortable with most of the nudity in the movie. Just the whole time, I'd be like, do you want me to turn this off? Or so it kind of tells me who their audience is. Okay, I'm gonna stop with the boobies, boobies, boobies. But let's hear your thoughts. Not on the boobies, unless you want to talk about them.
And I think maybe we should just go one by one and kind of go through the stories. Let's start with the frame narrative. Tape 56. So we've kind of mostly talked about this in non-spoilers. The group of guys who show up at the house looking for the VHS tape. The part we didn't mention because it is spoilerish is as they put a tape in and watch it, things are happening in the house. The very first guy who puts in a tape and watches it,
as the other guys leave to go look for the tape in other various places.
Right, in the basement and other parts of the house. He puts the tape in, he starts watching it, and as soon as that one ends, we cut back to this guy, and he was sitting in the room with the TVs with the dead guy, and the dead guy who was sitting behind him is no longer in the chair. And he kind of fumbles around and puts another tape in. And when
the audience realizes that the dead guy is now gone, but the guy putting in the tape has no idea he's facing the camera.
Right. And so when we cut back after the next vignette, both the dead guy is back sitting in his chair, but the guy watching the film is gone. And somebody else comes into the room. He's like, where'd that guy go? And he sits down and watches one himself. And this kind of continues on through the course of the movie, where these guys sit down and watch a movie. And after the movie's over, they're gone when it cuts back, which is, it's kind of a simple, very, very, very simple kind of way of dispatching characters off camera. In movies like this, it creates this weird sense of unease. I wouldn't call it tension. It's just this kind of unease because you don't know what's going to happen or if anything's going to jump out of the shadows. It's classic. I think it works pretty effectively here. The other thing, as an overall idea, I think this has all happened and it's all over, and somebody has gone through and they've edited all of this together. And now we're watching another VHS tape that includes these guys coming into the house and each dying off one by one very quietly in the dark. So that again is another interesting part of the way they frame this narrative. Aside from that, though, I think the frame narrative itself is just missing a ton of cohesion with not only any of the separate films, but just in how it overall ties back into what's happening in the house. What are these movies? And there's no kind of explanation or any kind of subtext given as to why these tapes are in the house. I mean, like I said, these guys never even tried to find out what kind of tape they were looking for. So you don't even have an understanding of what it is they were looking for, why they were looking for it, or who asked them to look for it. So it's missing a lot. I think it's probably the weakest part of the whole movie. Overall, it's very creepy, and I think it's effective at being creepy, but it doesn't do much else.
Yeah, I'm less forgiving than you. We've already talked about how these guys are just worthless. You could care less about these guys. So when they start dropping like flies or dropping off, when you stop seeing them, I literally remember thinking like, okay, good. Like one less douchebag to care about,
right,
or wonder how he's going to get picked off. I'm of the same mindset of you, though, that I felt like there was something missing. Like I was missing it. Like I almost wanted to go back and check each of those scenes again to see if they explained more or if I got more out of it. It was only in doing the research after the movie ended when I started reading about SVHS, the sequel, and again, some of that the larger meta plot of there being people who are collecting these tapes and watching them and keeping them and figuring out what they all mean, the supernatural events occurring now. I wish something would have touched on that, or somebody would have touched on that, if there would have been a final framing or a final narrative around the frame narrative where, you know, you see the tape come out and someone else takes it and puts it into another stack of tapes, or something that showed that there was a larger picture. And I didn't feel, maybe the guys who made the movie didn't have that in mind at the time. They only thought of it with the sequel, but
yeah, they didn't. The sequel, them having that in the sequel is a direct answer to one of the key complaints of VHS itself.
Well, it's good that they at least learn their issues, or they listen to the fans. But that was
right.
We pretty much in every podcast we've done so far, episode we've done, I can't get past certain things in the movie, and they just stick with me, and they make me either love the movie or hate the movie. And this was one of the things where I was just like, I don't get it. Give me more information. I require more information. Having said that, I love the idea of this. You know what I mean? The anthology of the short films, the handheld feeling, the found footage concept. Like, I love it. And I'm actually excited to see SVHS. From what I've heard, it's the way I like the last short, the 10/31/98. I hear that, or I read that almost all of them, or if not all of them, are as good as that one short from this one, or even better.
Right.
So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, which is great, because I think that we'll get to that one specifically later. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of creativity in that short, and it's great to see that they focus their efforts a little bit better in the sequel, and they're trying
I like that they're learning. Yeah,
they're trying to ensure that the quality follows through the entire film. So that said, let's jump into the first tape, and it's called Amateur Night, directed by David Bruckner. I'm sure you hated this one. Or at least the way it started, because you know what's funny about this too is that to a certain extent I had a little bit of deja vu when I was watching this. The douchey guys. So you've got these douchey guys, and they're all drunk, and you know their plan is they've got these glasses with the camera in them, and they have this whole plan to go out and bring a girl home and film her while wearing the glasses with the camera.
Again, basically like a 13-year-old's wet dream.
Exactly. So these guys get drunk and they go out to the bars, they go bar hopping, and get into all kinds of mischief. Along the way, they're just being bros. I mean, they're so dude bro. They're a bunch of just like the dude bro guys who like every third word is dude and every fifth word is bro. Yeah.
This is gonna be righteous, dude. Yeah, bro.
Come on, bro. Give me another beer. Yeah. So Yeah, it's a bunch of those guys. So we've got
It's
these three
laughable
guys,
when
these
that's
three
there.
dude bros. They're going out and they're trying to hook up with girls, and they're either getting shut down or kicked out of bars, and they're just kind of moving on to the next bar all night long, right? Um, they come to this one bar and they finally get this drunk slutty girl to go back to the hotel with them. Um, but they've also got this other girl tagging along who's really, really creepy and weird. And from the first time you see her, you feel like something's off with this character. Um, she's just whispering to the character wearing the glasses, "I like you."
All I can say is this actress, Hannah Fierman,
Yeah,
even looking at her IMDb page right now, I'm just closing out because she is just creepy.
Yeah.
Like the directors found the golden nugget right there as far as the weirdest looking people ever. Yeah, they really lucked out because she, even in the bar, all I remember thinking is, get away from that weirdo. Like, I don't know what is, this is obviously a horror movie. I'm in a horror movie right now, and you need to back away from that woman because she's going to kill you and probably everyone you know. Like,
right.
within seconds of meeting this woman, you're like, get away, dude. That's a horrible woman. That's the kind of like, I'm gonna boil your bunny crazy. You don't need to be around, pal.
Right. And this one actually is in a lot of ways one of my favorites because of the director's approach to how he handled the horror in this one. And it's layered, and he's just slowly but surely stripping off layers one at a time, and it's making you more and more uneasy as it goes along. But it's not until he pulls that layer where things get really, really crazy that you understand what you're dealing with, or you have some idea of what you're dealing with. And even then there's still more layers of creepy and weirdness, and understanding what kind of monster you're dealing with. So I think I like that approach. It's different. It was like this very patient way to approach scaring people or creating tension for a horror short.
That's one way to put it.
All right, so go for it.
I unlike the main guys in the frame narrative, there's one guy, Clint, the guy whose glasses we're following, or we're in a camera in his glasses the whole thing.
Right, but this one's shot through first person from the glasses.
Yeah, so everything he's seeing, you're seeing from the glasses point of view. He is actually kind of a sympathetic character.
Mm-hmm.
He seems nerdy. He seems shy around women. He's not a bro. He's not a dude bro. He seems like a very unlikely friend of the bros, which made me happier for him. Unlike the frame narrative, who like I said, I was just waiting and hoping they would die soon. This guy I actually did care about. Like, oh, okay, he seems like a nice guy. Like, he doesn't want to be doing this. His friends are goading him into it, and who hasn't been there where you're peer pressured into something? And he sticks with that. I mean, he never once becomes this like really cool, I'm gonna get this girl kind of guy. He always seems very unsure of himself, and even unto the end, I think probably his undoing that he's not more assertive. He's definitely like a type C personality. I liked this story better than the frame narrative because of that. Having said that, I could care less. Like, I knew the girl was weird and something was wrong with her. I wasn't sure what it was. When it was revealed that she was some kind of crazy succubus, vampire, creepy harpy with wings, I wasn't in the least bit surprised. I'd been waiting for it the whole time. I did, like, you saw it as a build-up, layers being peeled away, and I was just like, watching my watch. Like, tick tock, someone's gonna die.
Yeah, but it was. I wanted to see what they were dealing with. From the very first time you see her, I thought, well, okay, maybe this is a vampire. And you start looking, and then she starts
she wasn't
acting.
A Twilight vampire. That's all.
Yeah, definitely. But then there's a scene where she's very obviously just does not like one of the guys in the room, and she does that thing where she hisses at him.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's different. It seems more cat-like. And there's a scene where they briefly he looks at her feet, and they're really weird and kind of
Like
clawy
scaly?
looking and scaly. Yeah. And you're like, okay, all right, that's different too. I've not seen something like that. And you start to notice too when he's talking to her. There's a moment where it seems like they may leave. She's trying to get him to leave, and there's even this weird recognition of she's talking to him, but I don't think everybody else can hear her talking or understand what she's saying, but he can understand. And she says, you know, I want to leave. She says, do you understand? Like, she's like, you can understand what I'm saying right now, right? And during that scene, you kind of see, like, on her forehead, that you see, like, what looks like kind of like a dark line going down her forehead, too. And again, it's kind of like the mystery, like, okay, what is she?
A creepy actress or what?
Yeah.
I
You're
had
like,
the same thought. Like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Might just be a weird vein in the actress's head.
Right. So it's again another layer of what's going to happen. And so eventually the slutty girl, one of the guys is trying to get her bedded down, and she falls asleep. And this was
Too
kind of
drunk,
interesting.
passes out.
Yeah, she passes out, but this was interesting because these guys who up to this point you feel have no kind of moral compass, they decide, you know what? We can't have sex with the girl who's passed
Thank God.
out.
She's off limits. We're not going to rape her on the bed in front of the camera.
Yeah, so then they turn around and they go, hey, bro, your girl over there is looking pretty hot and she's still awake. You know, let's run a train.
That's really what it comes down to. She's still awake.
Yeah, let's run a train on her instead. Come on,
She's
let's
creepy,
go over there.
but, you know, she's conscious, so...
Yeah, so he moves from one bed to the other and starts trying to make out with her, and she seems to be into it, so, you know, he's just going for it.
One of the bros.
One of the
starts to make out
bros.
with her.
Yeah, and at the same time, she apparently is really, really interested in our main character with the glasses. So she starts to try to bring him into it. And then
In some kind of weird threesome.
Right. And then the third guy, who she really doesn't like, who's this whole time just been laughing in the corner, which also is very reminiscent of something that you've seen in real life at a party, you know, where everybody's drunk. There's the guy who's just sitting in the corner giggling his ass off. Yeah. And so, yeah, he immediately stops giggling and he's like, I'm getting in on this, you know, starts taking off her clothes, and she seems really upset by the idea of him even coming near her. And so the main character is like, I can't handle this. I need to go to the bathroom real quick. And he goes in there, and a few seconds later, the guy she didn't like comes busting in. He's bleeding, and he says she bit him. They go back into the room, and she's murdering the other guy. And
like full on, like eating him. I think at one point I even tried to like zoom in to find out what the hell's going on. I think she pulled out a foot or a hand and is kind of like dangling it in front of him.
She does. So I think she's like eating at his stomach or at his crotch, and he's moaning or screaming, and so she takes one of her feet and shoves it in his mouth. So she's kind of like crouched over him.
I don't know what's happening. It's a very weird, dark scene lit by. I think there's still a lamp in the room at the time, but it's behind him, so you kind of see
hotel
silhouette
lamps, and
it's very strange.
Yeah, it's creepy. It's just full on creep. It's like, I haven't seen anything like this before. This is really weird. This is really creepy. And by the way, what the hell is she?
So the remaining bro and our nerd Clint kind of slowly inch out of the bathroom. The bro grabs like a towel rod and decides he's gonna like go ninja on this creature. At this point she just kind of backs away, and she's in this weird kind of Madonna Vogue pose. I'm not sure what she's doing, but she's making some creepy noises, and the nerdy guy is trying to wake up the other girl on the bed, the one who passed out earlier, and he's having no luck there. So the bro rushes her and starts to try to hit her with the towel bar, and she just takes him out, like just jumps on him, and you just hear him gurgling and kind of screaming, and she proceeds to, it seems like, eat him as well.
Right. And our hero in the glasses is cowering in the corner trying to see if his other friend is still alive, which he obviously isn't at this point. And eventually he makes his way out of the hotel room and runs screaming out of there, as any man in his rightful mind would do.
Like 20 minutes earlier, I would have been out of there.
Yeah. Well, she was blocking the door. All that chaos was happening right in front of the door. So
I'd have gone through the window, man.
yeah, exactly. Bathroom window, whatever. I would have gotten out of there. But yeah, so he goes running out of there, tries to find a way out of. It's one of those old hotels where it's he's on the second story and the floors are all connected in this in like one of those weird, creepy, dark stairwells. So he kind of goes running down the stairwell looking for an exit. Trips, falls, breaks his wrist, and is laying there on the ground moaning. And then that's when she shows up
Which
again.
The whole time I was like, suck it up, cupcake. It's just your wrist. Your feet work just fine. You've got a crazy creature chasing you. Like, this is nothing. Suck it up.
He's whining and he's hurt, and she shows up again, and she crawls over to him and proceeds to give him...
Proceeds to try to
give him, oral release.
And give you all pleasure? Yeah.
And I guess because, I don't know, his friends just died and his wrist is broken,
She ate them, she's covered in his friend's blood, his wrist is broken, any number of things, really.
And we've also figured out what that weird mark on her forehead is. It's another mouth that's kind of vertically aligned, running from her hairline to her nose. Yeah, and it's open and it's scary looking, and yeah.
Don't mind me. I'm just going to go down on you.
Yeah, exactly.
He does not, as we would say, rise to the occasion.
Exactly.
She takes it as a slight. You don't like me?
She
starts crying.
Offense to this.
He finally gets the sense to get the hell out of there. Starts to run as she becomes inconsolable and angry. He makes it out. He runs to the window of the people you go to get a hotel room, and they will not let him in. They're just like, get away, go. He runs to some other guys out by their truck, and before you know it, you hear the sound of beating wings, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. He barely looks up, and he's suddenly airborne.
Right.
You see the ground going further and further below him. You see him rising up into the sky. At this point, he's just screaming his damn head off.
I thought that the way that shot was handled too was pretty brilliant, because it takes a second,
figure out what's going on.
Yeah, between the compression and just the low quality of the camera and the glasses and everything. You're like, wait, what? And it's kind of shaky for a second, and then you see he's going up in the air. He's going up in the air really fast, and he gets just half a glance at her and her wings before the glasses fall off and go spiraling to the ground. And they kind of bounce and land, and that's where we end this one. Which, yeah, like I said, I really thought that one was cool. The first time I watched it, I didn't like it as much, but going back to it, I like I said, I really had an appreciation for that, the way he kind of layered these things in there, and even the final layer being her having wings and dragging him off into the sky.
As a journey, you're finding out things as you go, or you're revealing things as you go. I could see why that would be appealing, or how that was good for you. I don't know, man. I like I said, the whole time I was just like, what's she gonna do? She's creepy. She's crazy. I think if they'd have made her the sexy one, I would have liked that better. If she was the one the guys were trying to get with, and meanwhile he's ignoring the nerdy girl, you know what I mean? Something to that effect. Like, give me something different, rather than in my face, And I guess that's what was throwing me the whole time. But as a journey, like knowing she's creepy, to seeing why she's creepy, to trying to get the heck away from her, I could see how that was cool.
Ah, yes, the man who's never been a horny guy.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I would say there was a lack of blood in his brain, allowing him to be able to see that she was creepy, and that blood, just because that blood was somewhere else.
I like you. All I kept thinking was, no one likes you. Like, just go away, weirdo. All right, moving on to the second short horror film, Second Honeymoon.
Correct.
Directed by Ty West.
Right, Ty West, who directed The Innkeepers, which is another kind of slow-paced horror film. I haven't seen it, but I heard it's pretty awesome.
Oh, I saw it actually. I did another occasion where I was doing something else while watching it. I did the same thing with the Woman in Black, the Daniel Radcliffe movie, and I thought both of those were good. The Innkeepers I thought was very slow, like you said, kind of a slow burn kind of movie,
Right.
But it was good. It was good. It was creepy. It was good.
Awesome. So why don't you walk us through the second honeymoon?
Sure. So the second honeymoon centers on this married couple who go out like to the West Coast for their second honeymoon.
To our coast.
Is it? Yeah, I guess so, huh?
Yeah, definitely. That's absolutely Arizona.
Oh,
Unmistakably.
nice. They head out west.
Yeah.
And they get a hotel room. They go. Oh, that's right. They do go to like a Wild West themed attraction.
Yep.
And the girl gets one of those fortune teller machines. She gets like a card from that says she'll soon be reunited with a loved one. And her and the guy are trying to figure out what that means or whatnot, if it really means anything.
Right.
That evening, they don't show it. They don't show what's going on, but they show the reaction. The wife is now filming the husband and saying, "So what happened?" And the guy says, "It was weird. Some girl just came to the door and was trying to get me to give her a ride when we leave tomorrow." And the wife says, "Well, what did you say?" And he said, "I told her no. Like she seems weird. Like I'm not going to let her come with us. Who knows what she's going to do or who she is."
By the way,
I thought was weird.
I would say, by the way, that scene where he tells her that is some of the best acting in the whole movie, I think. When he's telling her,
acting.
well, when he's telling her, he's explaining partially why he said no. That he's not afraid of her, but there's something about her. What he was describing, it sounded to me like when you meet someone who's a murderer, and you're looking them in the eye and something feels off and it's making you feel really uncomfortable and you can't quite put your finger on it, but the person is just really making you uncomfortable, and the kind of fear in his voice and the way he described that, I thought that was really effective.
That's interesting. I thought it was like when you see like the homeless person on the street who's like yelling at themselves. That's the kind of vibe I thought he was getting. This girl could kill us from behind. Like I do not trust her. Like that kind of a unstable presence.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was getting at too. Yeah, it's a feeling
There's
of
something
unknown.
Yeah, it wasn't just yeah she had this weird vein in the middle of her forehead, or
Right.
She said I like you a lot.
Right.
So anyway, they for some reason they decide to sleep in different beds, which I didn't quite understand. He says something like, "Do you want to sleep in your bed?" And she says, "No, I'm all right." Which for married couples, like I would not want to sleep in a twin bed where my wife sleeps. I mean, even if we were just sleeping, just seems weird.
Right. I think there's some subtext too there, but continue.
Yeah, about how maybe this is to help them, maybe.
Right, and the second honeymoon, the title, and it seems like maybe this is a couple who are getting back together after some kind of difficulty, maybe.
Yeah, maybe they're still on the rocks a little bit or something. They don't fully trust each other.
Right.
So that night, someone breaks into their room. At first, you see just a shot of like the girl sleeping, and you see a camera. And the whole time, I was thinking like, why is the husband filming her? And then the camera pans over, and you see the dude. And all of a sudden, you realize, oh crap! Like there's somebody else in the room with them while they're sleeping, and they've got that like night vision kind of green look going on. Which, by the way, the whole time the camera's like on somebody's face, all I could think of was if that light was in my face, like I'd be like up in a second. Like it just seems like they put a spotlight in their eye when the person's still asleep. So the person who breaks in starts to like pull down the covers of the wife and starts like whips out like a switchblade and starts using the switchblade to like almost cut off the wife's panties. Like she's not wearing shorts, she's wearing like panties. Mm-hmm. So the whole time I was thinking to myself like, "Oh, this is getting weird again. Like, come on, really more like women abuse." The wife doesn't wake up. The person who broke in puts the knife away, and you see them pulling money out of the husband's wallet, like a bunch of money, like a wad of money out of the husband's wallet. And then the person goes into the bathroom and starts like fumbling around with stuff in the bathroom, takes the husband's toothbrush and sticks it into the toilet. And all I could think of was that Seinfeld episode where, anyway, so it puts the toothbrush in the toilet, which I remember thinking like, that's that's really vindictive. Like, why would you do that?
Right.
The next day, they're up and they're I can't remember if they were getting ready or if they were already at some place, but the husband notices that his money is missing. He accuses the wife of taking it. Yeah, they're out. They're visiting someplace. He accuses the wife of taking it, and she gets all offended. Like, why would I take your money? I have my own money. And he says something to the effect of, "Well, it wouldn't be the first time that happened, or wouldn't be the first
Right.
time it happened." Which, like we were saying, it makes it imply that there's something deeper going on here, that they've had some kind of a schism, and maybe this is them trying to reconnect.
Right.
Um, but the
Strong
whole time I'm just
subtext.
thinking, like, yeah, but the whole time I'm like, who the hell was the person? Like, I didn't get it.
Right.
That same night, so that same night after he accuses her, the person enters the room again, and we get to see the wife and the husband in their separate beds. And I remember thinking, like, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, the switchblade comes out again and just stabs the husband in the neck, like full on, just blood's gushing everywhere, and he's making gurgling noises and gross noises, and blood's just pouring out before he eventually stops. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, where is the wife? What the heck is happening? Like, how is the wife not hearing this and jumping on this dude killing her husband? And then out of nowhere, we're in the bathroom and you see a woman washing her hands off. And I was thinking, was that the wife? Why the wife couldn't have been the wife. The wife didn't have the camera. It pans up and you see it's some woman in the room washing off her hands. And then you get to see the wife standing in this like bathroom door. And then the two chicks start like making out.
Mm-hmm.
Full on going at it, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, like this is like a forbidden love, that they had to get the husband out of the picture. Like, this isn't some second honeymoon. This is like a great escape, almost like Thelma and Louise style. If Thelma and Louise were making out and killing people with switchblades. So then the two chicks are making out, and then we see them like in a car taken off from the hotel, and the lady who killed the husband asks the wife, did you erase the footage? And I think she answers affirmatively. I think she says yes, and then the recording stops.
Right.
So, I just gave you the description. What were your thoughts, Jamal?
I at first I wasn't so into this one, and then when I watched VHS again, I really, really liked it. I thought that this was a great slow burn. I think that it's the one that was the most surprising when things go crazy in it. There were no monsters, there was no mysticism, there was nothing creepy aside from the person coming in the room, and even that plays on, I won't call it an urban legend, but this sort of thing does happen. People go out to motels and stuff like that, and people sneak in the room and steal from them. And it's one of those fears that I think when you lock the door at night in a hotel room, you're always kind of, in the back of your mind, hoping that something like that doesn't happen to you. And it plays on that fear.
Chain, you lock the other flap, you lock the door.
Right, you hit that flap and you pull it back and you push it again just to make sure that it's really locked in there, because you're like, you don't want exactly. You don't want exactly what happened.
With 150 people, like, I'm gonna make sure this bitch is locked up tight.
Exactly. Yeah. So exactly what happened in this short is what you're trying to avoid, and watching it happen is incredibly uncomfortable. And the first time it happens, because of the content before, and I think it's funny because it actually makes this one more effective, because you had something that was just so kind of insane the first time that you're waiting for something else really insane to happen. So you assume that, this was just a one-off thing. Somebody snuck in the room, they stole some money, they're gone, you're probably never going to see this person again, and they're just going to leave that behind, and then some monster is going to come. But, the monster is actually this person who comes back again. And again, you're comfortable with the situation because how slowly things work the first time. You're like, yeah, she's going to mess around, or I'm sorry, at this point you don't know it's a she, but this person's going to mess around, pull out a switchblade again, maybe do something to the husband, and boom, a knife to the throat.
Yeah, that was unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely unexpected. And yeah, I thought this one was crazy awesome. I like especially just the acting in this one. I think again, from both actors in this, I think they were really strong, and I thought that all of the dialogue and the way it was delivered was really naturalistic, and it felt real. And the way they moved, the way they talked, their mannerisms, all of that felt really authentic and really good. And they were able to portray a lot of nice subtext that you're able to pull little bits of story from to figure out what the backstory on this couple is, even if just a little bit, to help you form an opinion on what's going on between these two. So yeah, I thought it was great.
This was probably my second favorite if I had to choose another one, and it was the least physically interesting, supernaturally interesting. I mean, whatever you want to say. Like, it didn't have any tricks. It didn't have any special effects budget other than the blood gushing out.
Right.
I like what you said, man. It was unexpected in the sense that we had just left this crazy harpy vampire thing, and now we're just watching like two people out, and then the woman gets killed because her lover kills her, or kills the husband. Like, it was the most human of all of them, but I also kind of found that pretty tragic. That like monsters killing people, I was like, oh, monsters. But people killing people, I was like, dude, that's somebody's husband. That chick's like, you're making out with that chick. Like, it was disturbing in that sense, not because it was spiritually, supernaturally crazy or whatnot, or even that the death or the plot was that crazy. It was just real. Like you mentioned, the real feeling, the urban legend of someone coming in your room at night while you're sleeping in a hotel, preyed on that. It also just preyed on the sense that some people are just messed up. Some people are just evil, and there are murderers out there every day, just killing people. And for whatever reason, in this case, for love, I guess you could say. So in that sense, I thought it was interesting. But with you, like, the acting was good. It was solid. I believe the performances, and there was enough subtle hints and subtext that I thought it made the characters more believable.
Absolutely, yeah. And him reading the map and talking about going to Vegas the next day, right before bed too. I mean, that kind of helps seal it, because it's all mundane. It's just full of these mundane things that people do on vacation, I'm sure there were a lot of fun things they did. At some point, it looks like they're at the Grand Canyon. I'm sure there's lots of fun in there, but the only thing you ever see on the camera really is the mundane stuff. And I think that,
or the fights, or the semi-arguments,
right? And so it puts you in this sense of ease and comfort, and then he just rips that from you at the very end really quickly, like just ripping a Band-Aid off. You barely get a chance to accept what's happened before you've moved on and you're out of this short completely. So yeah, I liked it. Ty West did a great job here, and I can't wait to see what else he does.
I'm with you on that.
So, on to the next short. This one is called Tuesday the 17th. That's directed by Glenn McQuaid. I hated this one.
I'm right there with you. Let's make this fast.
Yeah.
Did you at the end of this thing, were you just like, who cares? Like, when people were dying, I was like, I don't care. When
everything
the villain gets revealed, I don't care.
Everything that could have been wrong. Well, the villain, I cared slightly, but I'll explain that in a second. Everything that could have gone wrong on this went wrong. The actors are terrible. The acting is just horrible. The dialogue is badly written.
I'm going to show you a routine that no one else has seen before. I was like, is she a cheerleader? What's she talking about? Oh, she's really going to do a cheerleading routine.
Well, for a second, I was thinking maybe she's possessed or something. Because her acting
or just
was
crazy,
so bad. I mean, let's kind of jump backwards a little bit and explain what's going on before we start tearing these people apart.
There were so many terrible parents. Let's Tarantino it. Let's go back to that.
A group of kids, or I won't call them kids, a group of college age students, probably in their early 20s, go off to a cabin on what seems to be some kind of break from school. It's two guys, two girls, a blonde, a brunette, and funny enough, blonde and brunette women and blonde brunette guy. The guy is your stereotypical jock. One of the guys, the blonde guy,
they're
the
all
dark
stereotypes.
Yeah, the dark haired guy is your stereotypical nerd. The blonde is your vapid cheerleader type, and the other girl is the I don't know, the rebellious brunette type girl.
It's Molly Ringwald from the 80s.
Right down to the like rolled up jean shorts and the flannel shirt with the kind of wife beater tee underneath it. So they go off, and the brunette rebel girl is taking her quote unquote friends to this cabin that she goes to every year, and she's lied to a few of them as to how this was all going to go down. She told the blonde girl, who's her friend, that it's just going to be the two of them. She told the blonde guy that it's going to be the two of them.
Yeah, like they call her out on it when traveling in this van. Yeah, I thought you said it was gonna be me and you. I thought you said it was gonna be me and you. And like they're all pissed at her, and then the camera just cuts, and we're back on to whatever it was.
Well,
like,
right before that, she says, "Well, I may have lied."
Yeah,
Which is already, things are starting to get suspicious right then and there, but you kind of ignore it and move on. And they go wandering.
The fact that the friends would ignore it, like I'd be pissed. I wouldn't let that go.
That if they did anything right in the writing, it's that they do keep bringing these weird things she's saying and doing up, but they let them go way too easily.
Way too easily.
But yeah, she leads them off into the forest. They go wandering around, and the rebel starts becoming really, really weird.
Once again, I like you. I'm out of here. It was great seeing you again.
She becomes disconnected and moody, and she starts telling him, hey, point the camera right here. And for a second, you see the flash of a dead body there. There's just static in the camera.
This is where my friend fell off the wall.
Right.
Oh, that was a dead person. Was that a dead person? Why was there a dead person on the screen?
Right.
You're weird. Let's keep going.
And she stands near a lake. They point the camera at that, and you see a dead guy floating in there for half a second. A lot of little weird stuff like that, but this all kind of culminates in a scene where she looks at the guy with the camera and she tells him, "You guys are all gonna fucking die up here." And so, which is really weird.
Dude, if we ever went to a lake, you, me, and our families or whatever, and you ever looked at me and said anything even remotely like that, and you didn't have a big smile on your face and we hugged it out afterwards, I would beat the crap out of you. Like right then and there, I'd just start swinging. I'd pick up a rock or log or something. Like we'd be going at it. But these friends still say like, "What are you talking about? You're so weird." And I'm like, "What is wrong with you people?" Oh.
Hey guys, do you know what she said back there? She said, "We're all gonna die."
Did anybody actually pay attention? Did anybody hear her say she's gonna kill us and we're all gonna die? No?
Yeah.
Nobody? Okay, good.
Yeah, so I guess we can just start tearing it apart now. Now we have the basics of the situation and where we are. They're in the middle of the forest. They're smoking weed.
They go to the lake to hang out. They're all there under different pretenses. They start seeing, the girl starts seeing weird stuff. We, the audience, start seeing weird stuff happen. And then the girl reveals they're all going to die. You don't know why. You don't know what's going to kill them, but it's going to be bad.
Yeah, she does explain to them that she had been there before, and some her and her friends were there before, and some murderer killed all her friends, and she escaped. And she laughs it off after she says it. This is the only time that she kind of pretends like she's joking.
Yeah, somebody says like, "Are you serious?" And she goes,
right, and they assumed that she was just faking it or whatever. A couple of the friends separate. The cheerleader girl and the nerd guy separate from the main group. So the cheerleader girl can, as she said, go take a dump.
Classy.
Yeah, exactly. So they get separated, and this is the first time you get a look at our killer. The nerd guy. Yeah, the nerd guy's taking the camera, and he's filming the blonde girl who is going into this cheerleader routine very robotically and very bad-actedly.
Acted.
Yeah.
Poorly acted.
Yeah, terrible. But the camera starts showing some static. He points the camera around, and you see glimmers of this kind of something walking towards them, and it stops.
It looks like tracking errors.
Right.
So, like the picture is kind of pulled left and right. You can't really see what you're looking at. It just looks like you got to, back in the old VHS days, you got to turn that VCR little tracking knob to get it to come in right, but no one's doing it, so it's just still messed up.
Right, and you can tell that there's somebody there. There's somebody walking towards them, but you can just barely see it. And whatever it is tosses a knife into the back of her head and pops out her eye, and that actually was really cool.
Much like Battle Royale.
Yes.
suddenly, oh my God, there's a knife in someone's head. Like, holy crap, that just happened.
Right.
It was one
And
of the best
so-
parts about this whole thing.
Yeah. She dies. The nerd goes running. He gets caught. He gets killed. That was actually another good kill. If nothing else, this one did have some pretty cool kills in it. The way it was done, the way it was orchestrated, and the effects. He basically lays the nerd flat. He throws him on the ground, and the camera lands next to him, so it's facing him on its side while he's laying on his back, and he kind of jams the knife into his forehead a couple times, which is something I don't think I've ever seen in a movie before done in that way. But yeah, he kills that guy, and then the creepy rebel girl shows up, picks up the camera, and goes back to the last man standing, who in this case has actually been swimming in the lake, in the buff.
Of course.
Yeah. So she goes back to him, and we get a little bit more bad acting and horrible.
And an explanation as to what's happening.
Yeah, plot device, script writing here, where he says, I don't think you were lying about that thing about the people dying up here. I kind of remember that. He said that, yeah, I remember only one person escaped. And if it's what's really funny is that the way I'm saying this is not too far off from the way this line was delivered in the actual movie.
You may have acted it better than it was in the movie.
Yeah, and while this is all happening, she's filming him, and the camera starts to wig out again, and you can see that our mystery killer is in the background moving towards the jock, and he from behind jams a knife into his throat, so you see it come out the front and then out again. Which, again, interesting. The effect was really cool. He gurgles, he drops, he's gone. And now we get our quote-unquote twist. The girl has actually come back to try to kill the killer who killed her friends.
I killed the killer who killed my friend.
Right. And she's brought these people along as bait so that she could get him to come out and play. Yeah, she runs from him. He springs a few traps that she apparently set up at some point. I don't know how she went up there and set them up without him coming to kill her.
Without him coming after her. I thought the same thing.
Right. Maybe it's some
stupid.
kind of weird Friday the 13th type of thing where, people have to be naked and swimming in the lake or talking about having sex.
And dig. She has enough time to go out there and dig like an 8-foot hole for this guy to fall into.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's lots of negative to say because this one is just really terrible. It doesn't really have much in the way of redeeming attributes, but the one thing I did like is I did like the killer. I liked that concept. I wish it had not been wasted on such a terrible movie. An entire movie using this concept. I mean, using the tracking from a VHS camcorder as kind of the device for being able to see what's coming to kill you is really awesome. I know you've seen other movies where people use a camera and that's the only way they can see what's coming after them. In fact, a really great episode of Supernatural did that. And it was really done well, but the idea of the tracking and not being able to see what's coming out after you and just using this old technology in that way to create a character or create a villain, I think was really great. And
it was
maybe
a good use of the medium, I agree.
Yeah, maybe that's what's wrong. Maybe this guy came up with this really great concept for the baddie, and that's all he had. And he had to write, this entire short around that, and it just didn't work out.
He asked his 8-year-old sister to write a script, and this is what we got.
Joe, I think you're being mean. I think 8 years old is being way too generous.
But Jamel's got it right. I mean, that's the kind of wooden acting in this thing. It's the stilted, totally fake dialogue. Even the title of this short, Tuesday the 17th, I think is supposed to be reminiscent of Friday the 13th.
Right.
But it doesn't have any similarities to a good Friday the 13th, like none whatsoever. It's laughable. The whole thing is just laughable to me. This is, it shouldn't be a surprise. This guy directed 2 other movies that you can see on IMDb. One is called I Sell the Dead, and it's Dominic Monaghan from Lost, and the other one is Stakeland, which you can also see on Netflix as well. I've seen the poster. I haven't watched it because it looks horrible.
I feel like Stakeland might have a fairly good score on Netflix.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Maybe that's our next. Maybe
Yeah,
we need to
maybe we
check
should-
that out
maybe we
for
should check out
consuming
Stakeland.
next week.
But yeah,
let's see if this guy's capable.
if I were to play devil's advocate and try to come up with any reason for the way this came out the way it did, and that's maybe he was trying to do the cabin in the woods thing. Like maybe he was trying to work the parody angle in some way, and I could see how all the bad acting. If you're looking at it through that lens of these people are trying to do a parody of Friday the 13th, then all the bad acting really makes sense. It feels like, okay.
The problem is, if that was a standalone short, no problem. Fitting in the context of this entire anthology,
where all of this stuff is real.
Yeah, where it's all supposed to be real, it makes no sense whatsoever. Like I could see that, especially I'm going to show you my routine here, knife through the eyeball. I could see that. Like, okay, she got knocked off. Of course.
I mean, it's possible. VHS is a pretty short flick, and I think that if you're trying to go for feature length, maybe if you've got one bad egg sitting on the shelf, you just go ahead and shove it in the carton.
Well, and you jam it in the middle that nobody ever remembers. It's always the first and the last thing that you remember. It's never the middle.
Right. And yeah, so let's stop talking about this one. It's
all right. That's the roughest one we have.
Yeah. So here's one that the first time I watched it, I didn't like it all that much, but it was a little more interesting the second time. The sick thing that happened to Emily when she was younger. Why don't you walk us through this one?
So this one's about a woman named Emily and her like in-school doctor boyfriend who's training to be a doctor. The whole thing is told through video chats. So like Jamel and I are Skyping right now, it's told through that. So if Jamel and I were sitting here talking and Jamel sees this creepy little kid run by me and I don't have a creepy little kid living with me, Jamel would be as freaked out as this guy is when he's like, oh crap, Emily, something was behind you.
Right.
That's kind of the premise of the movie, or of the short, I should say, that weird things happen to this girl in her apartment. In one of the scenes, this small kid like runs by her and slams a door. So things are really happening. It's not like when the dude is like, I thought maybe it was the wind or something like that. I was like, what the hell are you watching?
The next day, did you see the kid? It's like, maybe it was a kid, maybe it was the wind.
Maybe it was some wind. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a breeze that looked like a little child slamming a door. So the woman, Emily, says that she thinks her house is haunted. She talks to her landlord off camera and says that no children have ever lived there. Weird things start to happen. She talks about like this accident she had when she was younger and how this is kind of like that. It reminds her of that. She starts talking, or the guy says, like, they've known each other for a while, it sounds like. And the guy starts saying, like, are you picking your arm again? Stop picking your arm. And she keeps saying that there's some kind of bump under my arm. And the doctor-to-be guy, keeps telling her, like, stop that's not healthy, stop it. And her arm's looking pretty gross.
Right. He actually says something kind of neat there, too. Going back to the past, he says, leave it alone. It's like your leg last year.
So he references something that you get some more history that they've been together for a while.
Right.
So she gets the great idea to try to contact the ghost. She there's a couple times where she's walking around the apartment and you see the ghost appear, or whatever the heck it is, the little kid, and she freaks out, she screams, because that's what any normal person would do, and the thing takes off. Well, she gets the big idea, like, oh, no, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to close my eyes, and you tell me, I'm going to bring my laptop, and you tell me when the thing is nearby so I can talk to it, because I don't want to be scared by it. I'm just going to close my eyes and you can see it. You can record it. Because for some reason, the guy keeps forgetting to hit record on their Skype chat or whatever when they're doing this. So she has no proof. And the whole time, all I was thinking of was bitch, turn on your camera, like
Right.
record. Why you got to rely on this dude? But unfortunately, with most of these horror shorts, the women are, like I said earlier, are just kind of dumb and there for scenery or boobs, 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 boobs. So and there are boobs in this short. Like part of the Skype conversations with this dude and her boyfriend are her like him like telling her to take off her top or her taking off her top and like it getting all sexy and then it gets weird. And you're like, why are you scratching my arm? Stop that. This is weird. Like just show boobies or do something weird. Like don't do both. You're confusing my penis. So then Emily decides she's going to try to contact this thing and talk to it. She goes out into the apartment and she doesn't have a flashlight. I don't know why she wasn't thinking ahead of this, or she turned the camera facing the room so it lights up or something, or just turn on a friggin' light. So she starts breaking out a camera, like a flash camera, and she's taking pictures around, fa-ching, 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 just taking photos. And the guy is saying, "Oh, I think I saw something. Go back." So she goes back and she's flashing more photos, and you see, instead of one kid, you see like 3 creepy kids in her apartment, and suddenly she passes out. I'm not entirely sure how
They
or
do
why.
they do something. There's like a sound and then distortion on the camera,
and
and
she
then the
passes
laptop
out?
falls along with her. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know because I thought it was just like she fell and dropped the camera and the camera got messed up. Like I didn't think that it was connected.
Yeah,
But
there's
they did
this
it
is
for-
electrostatic kind of thing, almost like the power cutting out for a second or something.
Sure. So she passes out, and you don't know what the hell's going to happen. I remember thinking, like, please tell me the ghost kids aren't going to rape this chick, or like boobies. This little 9-year-old boy, ghost boy, is like, I just really want to see breastises.
Right.
So
What
all
we
of a sudden-
find out is that the kids already raped her.
So all of a sudden, the door to the apartment busts open, and there's her boyfriend, who, and I'm sorry for not mentioning this earlier, they've been on Skype because he's far away at school. Like, he's supposed to be coming back. This whole time, she keeps saying, I can't wait till you're here, and he keeps saying, I can't wait till I get there. So they're apart some distance. I don't even know how far it is, but it's far.
Right.
And all of a sudden, here he comes up the stairs 5 seconds after she passes out, and you start to realize, like, this is not good. Like, something is weird about this guy. It's not just the fact that he keeps forgetting to hit record. Like, he's in on this somehow. What the hell's going on? He comes in behind her, cuts like a hole in her back so you can like see ribs, and then he pulls out what looks like a teeny tiny little baby. And I think he kind of hands it off to one of the kids, or he kind of brings it off camera.
He's talking to them. They're talking to him. They're making these weird noises, and it seems he understands what they're saying, and
But
he's
the
talking.
audience
He's talking back to them, and he says, so this thing is this part human, and he hands it to one of them, and he's like, we can't keep doing this, and what about the tracking thing in her arm? Is there expiration date on that thing? And
he's the idea that this has been happening for a while. Like, they keep putting her through something. Like, she's now like a alien farm, like an incubator for these weird alien human kids or fetuses, and he's a accomplice.
Right.
So then you start to question, like, what's his relationship with her? Are they really in love? Like, what's happening? Why is he doing this to her?
Right, and he even says right after that too, like, I have to make this look like an accident again. I guess I'll have to break some bones.
Yeah, like he is completely okay with this. Like, he seems like, oh, I'm a little put out, I gotta break her arm or something, but he's okay with it. So the aliens wipe her memory, and we cut back to another shot of her, like, she is messed up, got a black eye, her arm's in a sling, and he's like, are you all right? You fell down. Like, she says something about, like, I can't believe I ran out into traffic. Like, she had some weird fugue state. She blacked out and ran out in traffic and hurt herself.
Right. She's been talking to a psychiatrist, and they said that she's a manic schizophrenic something or other.
Schizoaffective disorder or something like that. And she tells the guy, like, he could do better with a normal lover, a normal girl or whatever. And he's like, no, I still love you, but I got to get going. I'll see you soon. It's always, I'll see you soon.
Right.
And then here's what I didn't really understand. Did you know it was a different girl he was talking to?
Yeah.
You immediately got that?
Yep.
I don't know if I looked away or if I did something, but I thought I was looking at the same girl suddenly healed. Like I thought it was cut to 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, and the same thing was going on. And I was like, why does she look different? Is it because she got all messed up or something? And then she pulls off her top, and I'm like, those boobs aren't the same. And all of a sudden I realize, oh man, this dude is like doing it to some other chick now too. Like, does he have both girls? How many girls does he have going at the same time? Showing boobies and having alien babies.
He likes aliens and he likes titties.
So I didn't hate this one, but I didn't think it was really great. Like they could have done just a crap ton more with the aliens, with what's happening. I mean, I don't even need more
aliens. The aliens were badly done.
Yeah, I don't even need more explanation, but like kids in white makeup with like dark circles under their eyes ain't cutting it with me.
With the black light in their face.
Yeah, like I don't need to see like grays, like really tall, skinny aliens, CGI moving through. But give me something more to work with than just kids with makeup on. Like that was pretty lame.
Even the blurry thing that he was doing initially, when in the scenes where you weren't really supposed to make out what they are, that was more effective. So maybe if you just kept that up,
sure.
You can never really get a good look at them. But I think the problem is you get too good a look at them and you realize that, oh, this is just a kid with white paint on their face.
Yeah.
And so that was a little sad, but I think it was an interesting idea. And I think that coming back to this one, watching the movie again, what I liked is that this one wasn't interesting. It was interesting. It was different. They really thought out of the box with this one. It was like nothing you've ever seen before. It was weird. It hardly made any sense, but at the same time, it was kind of neat.
Yeah, and 2 sets of boobies. So
yeah,
Yeah,
you can do
such a weird movie, man. Just all sorts of random females just taking their clothes off. Again, all I keep thinking is like women power. Like the whole time I was watching this movie. Like,
so it's funny. I think it's part and parcel with the idea that when you have a horror movie, there's always boobies.
Sure.
Hey, there has to be boobies, but now you have a horror movie with 4 horror movies in it, or 5 if you count the frame narrative. Then yeah, so if each one of them has boobies once or twice,
it just seems ridiculous.
Yeah. Then you're left with an overall abundance of boobies.
Maybe some boobies on the screen.
Yeah.
So okay, do you want to just get into the last one, the best one?
Yeah. Let's get into that.
How did you feel about 10/31/98? Again, written and directed by Radio Silence. Like I've already gushed about this movie. How did you feel about it?
I thought it was amazing.
Was it the best of all of them?
Absolutely was. It
was.
Okay,
I'm not the only one.
It just. They went back. I mean, one of the things we haven't talked about is just the approach, the visual approach for each of these films. It kind of bounced around and varied in quality. You have the very first one with the most kind of technically advanced camera, I think, at least as far as the universe in the movie is concerned. This one was the most technically advanced, and the picture was just okay. It was probably about as bad as you'd expect it to be. But it looked like, it was a sort of high-quality source for the most part. And then, you have the second one, the second Honeymoon, the quality is actually pretty good, almost too good for a VHS tape.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing on some of these things. Like, this looks like, how is this HD quality, but it's still supposed to be a VHS tape?
Yeah, and then Tuesday the 17th was basically HD quality. It was a little blurry, but it was really, really great looking, and the quality kind of dipped a little bit with the Emily one, the sick thing that happened in Emily.
And that was okay because it was all like Skype chats and stuff.
Right,
like
and that one made sense, but they really dialed the quality back down again for 10/31/98, which was pretty cool. I like that, and
it made sense.
I think it also made all of the effects work a little bit better, because I imagine they didn't have much of a budget for these effects, and this one is just an effects show house. I mean, there's effects all over the place, and I think that all of it was really effective. I think there was one shot that was a little bit off, but it goes by so fast you don't really care. It's the door where the window's closing. The window is closing and the cracks in the door closing.
Oh, where it seals up? I got you. Yeah.
There was something slightly weird about that, but you don't get to look at it long enough to...
You could tell it was fake.
Right.
Everything else was doing a really
It
good
was
job
still
of
awesome,
seeming
though.
real, and that was the one thing where the guy's reaction was way more impressive than mine. I would have been like, "Nah, it looks fake. Come on, come on, House, you can do better than this."
Yeah. But yeah, it was great. So let's kind of talk a little bit about the story of this one, because even the the way the narrative works in this one is great. In each of these, there's a device for how they're going to get a person to be walking around with a camera, and this one is by far the most creative. It's Halloween night, and the main character is going out as a nanny cam.
Now, I thought it was reminiscent of the first one with the glasses.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, I thought the idea that they put it on Halloween, that everybody was dressing up. We got like the pirate, the marine, the guy dressed up as a teddy bear with a nanny cam. I thought the reasoning behind it was way cooler than just I got a pair of cool spy glasses. Let's try them out. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, definitely. And like I said, man, just I kind of want to go as a nanny cam for Halloween because they're just that was a brilliant costume. It also, these again are probably college age guys, and it was creative, but also looked like it was done on a budget. You know, like he probably spent all his money on one of those action cameras, and
Well,
he bought like
even
a
the
cheap.
pirate guy. Yeah, the pirate guy was wearing like a pirate shirt and like like pirate hat, or like a pirate hat, a piece of crap pirate hat, like the kind you get at a kid's costume store.
Right.
But then he was wearing like jeans.
Right.
Just rolled up jeans. The Unabomber, like how easy is that outfit? A gray hoodie and some sunglasses. The only one who looked like he put in some money was the Marine, but he probably was like in the Marines, like
Right.
it was his outfit when he wasn't at duty.
Yeah, and that's what made it great. Is that's how it is, on
Yeah.
Halloween, and so it felt really authentic.
And the whole what I really liked about this particular short was that the whole thing seemed very authentic. The dialogue, the guys ribbing each other, the getting lost on the way, the costumes, the camera itself, the quality, like everything seemed genuine. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The four guys just gelled so well together that you believe they were really friends and they're going out for a night,
It's almost like you had a gaggle of directors on set or something.
Yeah. Yeah, go figure.
Yeah. So they're looking for this house party. This was also great. This is something I didn't notice the first time, is that they end up in this house by chance. For whatever
By
reason, the first time I watched it, I missed that part, and I assumed that the house they ended up in was the house they were always planning to go to, and there was just more going on than they thought was going to be going on.
Oh,
But
see, when I got messed up, I saw another set of boobies. You get messed up and you're like, what?
So the second time when I watched it, I realized there's this mix-up with the streets, because they get to where they're supposed to be going, and they remember that the street starts with an M.
Is it
but
Madison?
all of the streets
Is
start
it
with an M.
Mulholland? Is it right? It's like 3 different street names start with M, and and realistically, they're getting pissed off at each other. Like, why didn't you? What I really liked about it was it's 1998. There's no Google Maps. There's no smartphones. There's no even picking
Right.
up a cell phone to call somebody and say, hey, where are you guys at? Like, you're out and about, and that's it. Unless you want to go all the way freaking home, probably another 20, 30-minute drive to call somebody up, or you got to try to remember their number through a payphone. Like, that was the time. I thought that was brilliant. Like, they were just like, screw it, we'll find it. Let's keep driving. We'll find it.
Right. And it's funny too, because being our age, it's nice to remember those times.
Yeah, this generation has no idea what the heck we're talking about, but anybody over 30 is like, oh man, those days suck before cell phones.
Yeah, you just push forward. You keep pushing forward. We'll get there.
I think at this time I'd gotten like my first beeper. Do you remember beepers?
Yeah.
Oh, so-and-so texted or so-and-so beat me. Now I gotta go find a payphone or ask somebody if I can use their house phone or their work phone and call somebody back. It was the worst system ever.
I remember I was excited because the pager I had, it could display two rows of text at the same time.
What?
Yeah, it was awesome.
You're like a doctor or something.
Basically.
So to continue on, they're searching for a Halloween party and they end up in the wrong place. It's this big 2-3 story like mansion, really nice, well-to-do kind of place, and they're impressed by like, how do they get the party here? How is this happening? So you immediately get to the sense there's nobody there. There's no music. There's no people reveling and having a good time. It's just an empty, big, bright house.
Right.
So you immediately get the feeling like this is not the right place. Something is off.
Right. And they start wandering around the house, and very, I almost want to say they use that layered effect again that I was talking about in the first one.
Yeah,
where things
just sort of reveal little things here and there.
Yeah, tiny things. They even hint at other things you're going to see later, almost immediately at the beginning. But, he's walking around the house with this camera, and you're getting hints of little creepy things happening. There's a scene where he looks in the mirror in this creepy girl's bedroom, and he sees someone in the mirror for a second, and he turns his camera the other way to the chair where he thought he saw someone. No one's there. He looks back at the mirror. No one's there. He meets up with his friends again, and they're all screaming, running out of a room. And they said that there's hands coming out of the wall trying to grab us.
Which was fantastic that they didn't show it, by the way, that they just said it, because then immediately you're like, wait, is this like a messed up house, or is someone just messing with them? Like, what's going on? Hands coming out of the wall. That sounds pretty cool.
Right. And various other little things happen.
Hold on, really quick. They think they're in the right place because they think it's a haunted house.
Right.
Like they think that it's an attraction. It's fake. Like this has to be the right house because it's Halloween night and the party we're going to is supposed to be like a haunted house. Like it's supposed to like someone's messing with us and this is really cool. So as the audience member, you get the feeling something isn't right and this is definitely not the right house and this is some really serious supernatural stuff going on. But it's believable because the guys' performances are very much so, this thing is awesome. Oh, just the hands were coming out of the wall. I scream like a girl. That's great. As an audience member, you're just thinking, oh, no, guys, this is bad. Like, this is very bad.
Yeah, it's almost endearing how desperate they are to have a good time.
Exactly.
And they're not quite the contrary of the other males who have appeared in this series of films. These guys there's nothing really obviously bad about them. They all seem like likable guys. They seem like guys you might hang out with.
Have a beer with. That's what I was saying. Guys you might have a beer with.
Right. If anything, maybe guys who work a little too hard and they're desperate for some freaking fun.
I need some R&R.
Yeah, exactly. So, crazy stuff starts happening. They're like, I don't know. We're in a haunted house, man. Let's do this. So,
yeah, just go with it. This is fun.
Yeah.
So as Jamel was saying, more and more weird things start to happen, and they end up hearing, it almost sounded like some kind of radio broadcast, like a Christian radio broadcast or something like that, or one of those stations where the guys are just screaming about fire and brimstone, and they kind of make their way into a bathroom. From the bathroom they see stairs going up because they realize it's coming from upstairs. They make their way up these stairs and they see a girl tied up, legs out, like she's fully tied up, but she's standing up, and there's like 4 or 5 guys around her fully clothed, and they're all like screaming things at her about sending her back to the pit and all sorts of other things, like not good things. And they've got her like in a pentagram. It looks like they're about to sacrifice her, like it looks like some kind of human sacrifice. The guys the guys we're following think it's part of the house, part of the haunted house. Like, this is cool. This is some other attraction. So the bad guys are like screaming something at this girl, and our guys, our friends, start getting into it, and they start screaming too. Oh, get her, and the guys who are torturing this girl look over, and you realize like, oh crap, like this is not part of some house. This is really happening. These guys are evil guys, and they're going to kill this girl.
Right.
And so the guys start yelling at our guys, get out of here, you're not supposed to be here. And I'll let Jamel take it from there.
Yeah. So the guys, they basically book. I mean, they do what anybody would do, and they kind of book. And about halfway back through the house, they hear her screaming, and they kind of stop and have a moment of we gotta go back and help this girl, man.
We're about to abandon some helpless girl to these creepy, crazy guys upstairs.
Right. So they turn around and they slowly but surely. This was actually a really great scene because
it starts with one guy.
Right, and it's the guy with the camera, and they really turn up the volume, and you can kind of hear his kind of like hard, his kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of freaked out breathing, like he's just like
It's
and he's
real.
kind
It's
of
definitely
yeah, it
real.
feels very real, and he's slowly but surely making his way back up into that attic, and to sneak up on these guys and get back up there and try to save this girl. And as he gets there, they're just about to stick a knife in her, and the guys just kind of bum rush him, and they bum rush the guys and knock the knife out of the guy's hand, and they start trying to free the girl, and then crazy stuff starts happening.
The house itself starts to destroy itself. Like things start falling down, cracks start appearing. The bad guys start. They do some weird thing where it looks like they've got some. They're looking at some like invisible rope around their necks or their chests, and all of a sudden, one by one, they start like lifting straight up into the ceiling, into the rafters, and just disappearing.
Right, into
Like they
nothing, just into the
out into
shadows.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really effective, really effective and creepy because
Right. There's no blood, there's no guts. It's just supernatural. You have no idea what the hell is going on, but it is bad. You do not want to be here any second longer than you have to be.
right. So they finally get the girl free, and they're getting ready to try to take care of the last guy who's still fighting them, and he's on his back on the ground. And then that's when this is the first time we get to see the hands they were talking about.
Yeah.
They're coming
Start
out of the
reaching out of the
floor, and
brickwork and
yeah,
stuff.
they're grabbing the guy and holding him down, and they just book it. And as they're running, you see more hands coming out of the walls behind them, and
it's fully formed, like fingers, hands, arms reaching out, grabbing onto them, trying to grab them. Like it was, I literally edge of your seat, nail biting, kind of like, holy crap, get out of there, get out of there.
right. And they're running, they're trying to get out of there, and they make it to the front door finally, and they look, and the door is just sealing itself. There's a window pane in the middle of the door, and it's closing, and then all of the
handle just
cracks.
disappears.
Yeah, the handle just kind of sucks itself in and disappears. All the cracks for the door are slowly starting to disappear.
And you realize this house does not want them to leave. This house is keeping them here.
Right. And the house is shaking, and there's lots of rumbling, and they're carrying this girl out of here, and she's moaning and saying, "Don't leave me." And they're just looking for a way out. Eventually they make their way downstairs into the basement, and then out through one of those basement doors that lead out to the outdoors of the house.
And again, even into the last second when they were outside the house, I kept thinking something's going to grab one of them and pull them back in, and there's no way they're going to make this escape. I just kept expecting it.
Yeah, I mean, at the last second, the guy with the camera, they're carrying the girl. Two guys are carrying the girl, and he's literally looking back and seeing hands kind of reaching out of the walls, just like right behind him.
Yeah, it was well done, creepy. I'm going to be trapped here forever kind of thing.
Right. Awesome scene. And they get to the car, they get in the car, and they start driving away and start asking her, what was that? Where's the hospital? All the things you might ask in a situation like that. And the car kind of sputters and dies.
So let me pause you really quick.
Okay.
So a couple of the visual things I liked about this as well. To backtrack to when the guys were lost originally, where they were trying to find where they were, there's certain things going on in the background while they're kind of driving around that I remember thinking, well, that's an interesting shot. Like, why am I looking at this particular thing? Or why are we hanging out waiting for this thing to happen before we can keep going on? Like, this seems like we're just kind of wasting time. And Jamel's going to talk about here in a second, and it'll kind of come full circle. It was a good setup and payoff, and one of the few setups and payoffs of this entire anthology that was done well or even done at all. The second is that when we're in the attic with the bad guys and the girl tied up, when she gets loose and when all hell starts breaking loose, like weird black birds start like appearing around her and fluttering all over the place. They're in the camera, they're all over the place. When they get out in the street, they're fluttering around again, and the guys are kind of running away from these birds. And I'll let Jamel continue.
Right. So one of the really cool things they do is they're driving to the party or driving to the house. They do a really great job of showing you landmarks and showing you the various things they're passing and the turns they're making as they're moving into this neighborhood. And one of the things they do is they stop at a train stop to wait for a train. And,
like a subway train.
Right. And so as they're leaving, the car breaks down, and if you've been paying attention, you realize that, they've stopped on the tracks at the very same stop they stopped at before, and the cars died. the doors have all locked, the windows have all sealed themselves, and they're sitting in this car with the girl freaking out, and all of a sudden, poof, she's gone. Where'd she go? And then one of the guys looks out of the window, and she's outside of the window screaming, and then she's gone again.
And she's looking at them like she hates their guts. Like, that was the first time when I was like, oh crap, were the guys in the house good guys who are gonna kill this evil demon? And all of a sudden you see like black birds start flying around this girl, and that's when I realized, like, oh man, we just stopped the bad girl from getting killed by the good guys. Damn it.
Right.
And that was one of the best things I loved about this short. Was I did not know, like all the other shorts, I didn't understand what was happening until the end. And then most of the times I felt gypped. Like, that sucked, or that was, who cared about those people, or any number of disappointments. And this one, I was just like, oh damn, like a real person would. You think you're doing the right thing and you're helping out, and just, son of a bitch, I was wrong. Except you're stuck on railroad tracks and there is a huge train approaching at whatever 80 miles an hour.
Right. Yeah, so they're trapped. She traps them in the car. She gives them one last glance, and she takes off, and here comes the train. And that scene, again, was really effective. The acting of the guys, they all kind of, like, start doing what you do. I mean, they position themselves in the car, trying to get away from the train as best you can from within a car. One of the guys even puts his foot, like, one foot on the window, one foot on the door, kind of like
it's gonna help him when the impact
right, like
happens.
if he could possibly brace himself for a train coming. But yeah, it's really effective.
It's so well done, the whole thing. I gave a crap about the characters, even more so. Like, their deaths were the only ones I was affected by. In the sense of when it ended, I just kept thinking, oh man, come on. The short itself, the way it was shot, the way, like we've talked about, the way it was shot, the way it was executed, all of the different things that made it up, including the visual effects, were just so far. I mean, it made everything else seem subpar. Like, the other directors were just trying to be directors, and these guys were just like, what the hell are you guys doing? We're making a real movie over here. Like, give these guys money and let them make a real movie. I will be in the theater watching it.
Right. And it's likely that movie you're talking about right now is probably going to be SVHS. I mean, Radio Silence seems to have been the kind of the leading charge in this whole thing. Basically, it seems like they wrote most of the movie and they came up with most of the concepts, while they handed off some of it to other directors. What they were able to do together in this last film is just phenomenal. And if you take that and you add it to the fact that they kind of constructed the whole concept for this anthology as well, then yeah, I think they're a great group of guys, and I think we can expect really big things from them in the future.
I hope so.
All right, so overall thoughts. I know you kind of overall hated the movie except for that last
one. Again, I really like the concept of it. The found footage thing is growing really old really quickly. It has grown really old really quickly. I'm kind of done with it. I still think there's some life in it, especially from this kind of a concept. I love the idea of different directors coming through and getting kind of like different feels for each piece. I like books like that as well, where authors, they bring together 10 authors and you have really, like maybe 6 to 10 really solid stories. I think it's interesting to do an anthology of horror movies. I'm anxious to see SVHS because, like you were saying, I think they've listened to the audience. They know what worked well with the first and what didn't, and I'd like to think they improved on it. Overall impressions, like I said, I mean, if you're at home and you're bored and you're wanting to watch something on a Friday or Saturday night and you're not doing anything else, give this movie a shot. I didn't walk away thinking, oh, I'll never watch that again, or I'll never say anything good about it, because indeed, from tonight, you've heard me say some really good things about it, including that last piece. If you're not interested in wasting or spending 2 hours watching this, or whatever, hour and a half, just skip to the last 20, 25 minutes and just watch this last piece. Like, it is so worth it.
Right. Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I'm a little bit more enthusiastic about the movie. I think that they do some interesting things with the genre, with found footage genre. I think that there's some fresh takes here, maybe not all of them are as polished as they could have been, but I like the effort, and I'm glad to see that people are still trying to do things with this outside of Paranormal Activity and
You and me both, brother.
yeah, whatever else they come up with. So I mean, I've heard rumors of them trying to reboot the Blair Witch Project.
Ah,
Yeah, exactly. So, if give me 100 more VHSs before you give me a Blair Witch Project, and I think I'll be happy.
sure. Or even worse, a Blair Witch Project 2.
And above all, more than anything, I love anthology horror, and I like the ability to sit down for one flick and be able to get to taste and sample ideas from people who think outside of the box and come up with creative ways to handle content or at least handle genres that you've seen plenty of films in before. So show me something new, show me something creative, and you'll definitely get points from me, even if you don't make it to the finish line or cross the goalposts with a dance and a smile on your face.
Nice.
All right, so I guess that wraps it up for this week. Anything you got to say, Joe, before we shut this thing down?
No, thanks for coming back. Thanks for joining us. We hope that you've had just as much fun as we've had making this, and that we hope you keep coming back.
Cool. And Joe, have you had some time to think about what we're going to be watching next week?
I thought we had decided it was a movie that I've seen but you haven't seen.
Ooh.
Oh man, you're gonna make me remember, aren't you?
I'm gonna try.
Tell me you're gonna cut this part out. Hold on, now I have to frickin' find it.
Dun dun dun.
We were just talking about it this last weekend, and I was saying it's good and you need to see it.
Oh, you're talking about The Gift?
Exactly. You're cutting this part out. Hi, everybody. What?
The Gift?
The Gift. That's what it was. It was
Okay.
The Gift. You're 100% correct. Thank you. It's 11:30 at night and I'm tired. It was The Gift,
Awesome.
which also has boobies. Just FYI.
Boobies! Boobies, boobies, boobies!
Woo, woo, woo. Yes, so next week we'll be reviewing The Gift.
Sam Raimi film. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. Keanu Reeves, Hilary Swank, oh my gosh, now I'm blanking. Katie Holmes, Greg Kinnear, and most importantly, Cate Blanchett and Giovanni Ribisi. It's a psychological thriller, and I'll leave the rest until next week, my opinions.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And until next time, this is Jamel and Joe, the J Crew, signing off.
Stream team! See you next week.
See you. The Stream Team Podcast is filmed in front of a live studio audience and features music by Broke for Free and the Not Quite Quartet. For show notes and more info, visit streamteam.tumblr.com.